everyone to ISKCON Atlanta Vaishnavi community gatherings. We are now going to study the prayers of Queen Kunti from the Srimad Bhagavatam chapter 8. So our plan is to study the lives of great Vaishnavis, see how beautifully they have offered prayers to the Lord. So you all know that Srimad Bhagavatam is a book of prayers in one sense. Every devotee has offered beautiful, beautiful prayers to the Lord. And there are many, many women devotees, Vaishnavis as we call them, who have offered lovely prayers to the Lord, beginning with Queen Kunti in Canto 1. So let's start with the prayers. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya.
Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya.
Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Narayanam Namaskritya Naram Chaiva Narottamam Devim Saraswatim Vyasam Tato Jayam Mudiraye Nashtaprayeshu Abhadreshu Nityam Bhagavata Sevaya Bhagavati Uttama Shloke Bhaktir Bhavati Naishtaki Krishnaya Vasudevaya
Devaki Nandanaya Cha Nanda Gopa Kumaraya Govindaya Namo Namaha.
So the prayers of Queen Kunti are from chapter 8 of the Srimad Bhagavatam. We'll pay obeisances to our Guru Parampara and then we'll start with a nice prayer. Om Ajnanatimirandhasya Jnananjanashalakaya Chakshurunmilitam Yena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha Mukham Karoti Vachalam Bhangam Langayate Girim Yat Kripatamaham Vandhe Shri Gurum Deenatayanam Paramanandamadavam Sri Krishna Chaitanya Ishwaram Namo Vishnupadaya Krishna Preshthaya Bhutale Srimati Bhaktivedanta Swami Nidiname Namaste Saraswati Devi Gauravani Pracharine Nirvisesha Shunyavadi Paschatideshatayane Jaya Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Shri Vasadi Gaura Bhakta Vrinda Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare. Guys, prepare for everyone. Can you mention one glorious quality of Queen Kunti that has impressed you?
Tolerance.
Tolerance, beautiful, yes. She underwent so many reversals in her life and she was tolerant. She never lost her faith in Krishna. Beautiful.
She is always surrendered to Krishna.
She surrendered, yeah. And she, in fact, you all must be aware that she asked for more problems so she can continue her surrender to Krishna.
I was going to say humility.
Humility, yeah, that's an integral part of a devotee. The greatest ornament of a devotee is humility. So unless you are humble, you cannot offer heartfelt prayers. And that's very evident in the life of Kunti. So we are going to, as we analyze the prayers of Mother Kunti, we are also going to try to understand her different qualities. Prayers are always a conversation between a devotee and the Lord, and the heart of the devotee is revealed as you listen to the prayers of that devotee. Everybody has a unique relationship with Krishna. So we are going to uncover the different qualities of Kunti and also understand. So, after the Mahabharata war was over, Ashwatthama, who is the son of Drona, was fighting on the side of Duryodhan, saw that his master Duryodhan's thigh was broken and he was fallen in a pool of blood and he wanted to take revenge. So what he did was, without consulting his master Duryodhan, he goes ahead and he ended up killing the 5 sleeping sons of Draupadi who were in the camp. This was a very, very gory murder, and the Pandavas were taken aback by it. Arjuna and the rest of the Pandavas, they vowed to Draupadi, telling her that they would bring the head of the murderer. Arjuna tells Draupadi, I will bring his head and you can stand on his head take bath. So this seems quite familiar, right? He keeps giving the same vow again and again in different situations. So Arjun, along with Krishna, heads out in the chariot. And in the Srimad Bhagavatam, this scene of Arjuna going in the chariot with Krishna is the introduction to the Supreme Lord in the Srimad Bhagavatam. So the Supreme Lord, Sri Krishna, appears in the Srimad Bhagavatam for the first time as a charioteer, as a very, very simple charioteer. So we see, in movies, you have a grand introduction to the hero. Everything is flying and he's got all these different weapons in his hand and he walks very, in a very stylish manner and he comes and that's the introduction of a hero. But Srimad Bhagavatam's hero, Sri Krishna's introduction is very simple. He's a simple charioteer, riding the chariot for his dear friend Arjuna. So Arjuna and Krishna, they go and they try to capture Ashwatthama. Ashwatthama is running for his life. And at one point, Ashwatthama's horses get tired. So he's not able to move further and he looks back and he stops. At this point, he's very scared. He doesn't know what to do because he knows the power of Arjuna and Krishna together. So bewildered, not knowing what to do, he releases a Brahmastra. So a Brahmastra, Prabhupada writes, is like an atomic weapon. It's very, very dangerous. So very powerful, very dangerous, and he releases this weapon. Now, seeing the glaring effulgence in the sky, Arjuna gets bewildered. So Arjuna, at that time, he surrenders to Krishna. Okay, so this is the very first surrender in the series. He sees Krishna, who's his charioteer, and he speaks this beautiful verse. You can repeat if you like. Arjuna Uvacha.
Arjuna Uvacha.
Krishna Krishna Mahabaho.
Krishna Krishna Mahabaho.
Bhaktanam Abhayankara.
Bhaktanam Abhayankara.
Tvameko Dahyamananam.
Tvameko Dhayyamananam.
Apavargosi Samshrute.
Apavargosi Samsritehe.
Want to read the translation?
Arjuna said, O my Lord Sri Krishna, you are the Almighty Personality of Godhead. There is no limit to your different energies. Therefore, only you are competent to instill fearlessness in the hearts of your devotees. Everyone in the flames of material miseries can find a path of liberation in you only.
So this is the mode of Arjuna. Arjuna was very clear. It is only Krishna who can instill fearlessness in everyone's heart. So that's why our Prabhupada's name is Abhay Charana Ravinda Bhakti Vedanta Swami. So a devotee is one who takes shelter of Krishna and remains fearless. Only Krishna can bestow fearlessness. And that's why it is said the quality of a Vaishnava's fearlessness. The more fearless we become by practicing Krishna consciousness, that is directly proportional to the level of surrender we have. If we have faith in Krishna's protection, that Krishna will take care of us, the more and more fearless we become. So that is a way to measure how surrendered we are. And here, Arjuna, he takes shelter of Krishna and he asks him for a solution. Tell me what to do. And that is when Krishna tells him, you are an expert in releasing a Brahmastra and retracting it. So you release another Brahmastra that can counteract the existing Brahmastra, retract both, and everything will be alright. So taking Krishna's advice, now Arjuna releases another Brahmastra and he counteracts both, and that's the picture that you see. Okay, so the problem was solved and he captures Ashwatthama, and as promised, he brings Ashwatthama to Draupadi. Now Draupadi, having a very soft heart of a woman, she decides to forgive her Acharya's son. She says, he's your guru, and moreover, I don't want Kripi to have the same fate as mine. I lost my sons. I don't want Kripi to feel the same pain that I am feeling. So she gives various reasons and they decide to release Ashwatthama. However, our angry young man Bhima says no, he has to be punished, and Krishna encourages him. So now there are two parties, Draupadi and the remaining Pandavas other than Bhima, and Krishna and Bhima on one side. So one party said we should punish Ashwatthama, while the other said it is not needed. So at this time, Krishna tells Arjuna, you take a proper decision now. Arjuna, understanding the equivocal instruction, decides to give Ashwatthama a funny haircut and then sends him out of the camp. So generally for Kshatriya, if you insult is worse than death, right? So he's insulted, his head is shaven, he has a funny haircut, his dress is not proper, and then he's sent out of the camp. So now Ashwatthama leaves, but Ashwatthama doesn't learn his lesson. Then what he did eventually was that he decided to kill the last child in this entire dynasty. Now this particular child was still in the womb of Uttara, who is the wife of Abhimanyu. Abhimanyu was the son of Arjuna. So she was carrying the last heir to this dynasty, and Ashwatthama decided to release the Brahmastra again towards Uttara's womb. So at that time, Uttara, she offers this beautiful prayer. She stops Krishna, who's actually leaving for Dwarka. Krishna, he had stayed with the Pandavas for a while and he wanted to leave to Dwarka. But for the first person who stops him is Uttara when this fiery arrow comes towards her. So let's see this verse also before we start reading the verses of Kunti. Uttara uvacha
Uttaro vacha
pahi pahi mahayogin
pahi pahi mahayogin
deva deva jagatpate
deva deva jagatpate
nanyam pad abhayam pashye
nanyam tvad abhayam pashye
yatra mrityu parasparam.
yatra mrityu parasparam.
Translation.
Uttara said, O Lord of Lords, Lord of the universe, you are the greatest of mystics. Please protect me, for there is no one else who can save me from the clutches of death in this world of duality.
This world is full of duality, Prabhupada says in the purport. Nobody escapes from the duality of this world, but there is only one protector. Now at this point in time, Uttara had great heroes around her. She had her fathers-in-law who were celebrated all over in the universe, and she was surrounded by great warriors that she had just seen in the battlefield. But Uttara was very, very clear who can actually give protection. So she didn't go to anyone else. She directly called out to Krishna. Pahi pahi mahayogi. You are the one who has all the mystic powers. You are Deva Deva Jagatpate, the Lord of the universe, and Nanyam Tva Abhayam Pashye. Who else can bestow Abhayam? Right? Who else? The same mood as Arjuna, her father-in-law. She says, protect me, for there is no one else who can save me from the clutches of death. Yatra mrityu parasparam, in this world. So Arjuna, Uttara, both of them understood it is only Krishna who can actually save. Now Krishna, immediately, he decides to save the child, and Bhagavatam says that he appeared in the size of a thumb. Angushta matra purusham spurat amala maulinam, right? So he appeared in the size of a thumb within the womb of Uttara, and he protected the child. So after all this was over, Krishna helped Yudhishthira Maharaj to start performing Ashwamedha Yajnas, because now Yudhishthira Maharaj was the king and it was time for him to leave to Dwarka. So when he was ready to go towards Dwarka, at that time Sati Trita stopped him. Bhagavatam says. What is Sati?
A chaste woman who enters into fire after the death of her husband.
Yes. So a chaste woman is Sati, right? But Bhagavatam gives a slight spin to it. Bhagavatam says she was chaste. Generally we say chastity to husband, right? But Bhagavatam says she was chaste to the Supreme Lord.
Jai. Wonderful.
So she's called as Sati. Sati Pratha went forward, and when this Lord was going towards Dwaraka, she stopped him again. So every time Krishna tries to go, somebody keeps stopping him. Okay, so this is the second stop. Here comes Kunti and she stops in and she begins to offer beautiful prayers. Now these are called as the prayers of Kunti or Kunti Stuti, which we are going to start now. So all this was a prelude to the prayers. Okay. Each of these prayers have a lot of meaning. They are filled with devotion, and seeing the devotion of Kunti, we can all derive inspiration in our bhakti. So that is the idea of studying prayers. Okay. So repeat after me. Kuntyavacha
Kuntyavacha
Namasye Purusham Tvadyam
Namasye Purusham Tvadyam
Ishvaram Prakrite Param
Ishvaram Prakrite Param
Alakshyam Sarva Bhutanam
Alaksham Sarva Bhutanam
Antarbhahiravastitam.
Antarbahiravastitam.
Translation, clever?
Yes. Srimati Kunti said, "O Krishna, I offer my obeisances unto you because you are the original personality and are unaffected by the qualities of the material world. You are existing both within and without everything, yet you are invisible to all."
So Kunti stops Krishna and she tells, Namasye, let me offer my obeisances to you. Who are you? You are Purusham, you are Adyam. You are the origin of everything, Adi of everything. Right? At this point in time, Kunti knows the position of Krishna. There is a difference between the different mothers and aunts of Krishna. Some of them know the superiority of Krishna, his identity. Some of them do not. Any guesses who doesn't and who knows? So the question is, some of them know the supremacy of the Lord. They know this is the Supreme Lord. Some of them do not. So in Vatsalya Rasa, motherly affection, be it Krishna's mother or aunt, some of them know it, some of them do not. So who comes to your mind as an example for someone who doesn't know?
Vrajvasis.
Vrajvasis, right? So the Vrajvasis like Mother Yashoda and the Maharaj, they do not appreciate the quality of Krishna, rather they don't see it by the power of Yoga Maya. But a person like Kunti, she knew that this is the Supreme Lord, but she also had that Vatsalya Rasa for Krishna. She had both. So in the first prayer, she's telling, I know, she's expressing her intelligence in one sense, knowing the superiority of the Lord, knowing that this person is the Supreme Lord. So she calls him Purusham Tvadyam. Purusham means you all know. What is the meaning of Purusham?
Bharata. The original.
Oh, yeah, he's the only
enjoyer.
Supreme, yeah, he's the Supreme person, he's the only enjoyer. Very nice, that is one word for Purusha. The enjoyer is Purusha and he's the Supreme. Right? So that is Purusha. So she says, you are the Purusha. Krishna is the only Purusha, everyone else is Prakriti. We all know that. So she directly declares, you are the only one fit to be called as Purusha, and you are Adi. You are the source of everything. Everything has come from you. And you are the controller, Ishvara. Now there are many controllers in this world. There are many Ishvaras. Like you have Maheshwara, Lord Shiva, you have Chandra, Surya, Varuna, Vayu. All of them are controllers to some extent. They are all controlling. Like for example, these demigods like Chandra, Surya, Vayu, all of them, they are controllers over different elements of nature. So there are many Ishvaras in this world, so many Ishvaras. But here she is calling out to Parameshwara, who is Sri Krishna. Prabhupada very clearly writes in the purport that she is calling out to Parameshwara. Why? She has already declared it earlier. You are the Purusha Adi Purusha, you are the Adi Purusha, and you are Ishvara. She has already declared it, so she is very clear which Ishvara she is calling out to. She is calling out to Parameshwara. Now, when you are calling out to this Purusha, Adi Purusha, who is Ishvara, is he within this universe? I mean, is he also conditioned like other people? No. She says you are Prakriti Param, meaning you are beyond this Prakriti. All of us are affected, we are all influenced by the modes of material nature within this universe. There is an effect on all of us. But one person who is beyond that is this Supreme Lord. So he is celebrated as Prakriti Param. Param means he is beyond this Prakriti. So Prabhupada gives this analogy. He says if a man is drowning in the ocean, if he is drowning and you are also in the middle of the ocean, can you save this drowning man? A person who's beyond this, who's in a boat, okay, who's not within the ocean, who's not swimming for his life, who's on a boat, he is the one who can extend his hand and take you out. Similarly, the Supreme Lord is not entangled in this universe. He is beyond this universe. So only he can give his hand and pull you out. Okay? So he is Prakriti Param, but Alakshyan Sarva Bhutanam. Many people are not able to see him, though Antar Bahir Avastitam. Though he is present within and without everything. Meaning, how is he present within everything?
Paramatma.
Paramatma, very nice. And without? Beyond.
As in all the objects as Shirodakshaya Vishnu.
Shirodakshaya Vishnu. He is also present beyond the universe, right? So outside the universe also he is the creator. He is not getting entangled because she just claimed that. He is not getting entangled. So he is present within and without everything, inside and outside of everything, right? Antar Bahir, inside, outside of everything. But he is not seen by everyone. Now, do you think it's logical? He is present everywhere. Krishna is present everywhere, within, without, here, there, everywhere, but we can't see him. Right? It's so strange. So now she has to clarify her point. How is it that if a person is present within and without, everything is not visible? So for that she clarifies why she cannot see the Lord. Okay? In the very next verse, she goes on to say, what is it that covers us that we cannot see the Lord? So the next verse begins with Maya Yavanika Chanam. Yavanika means screen. So in Sanskrit sometimes ja here is interchanged, like Jamuna, Yamuna, like that. So sometimes we say Yavanika, but here it is Javanika. Channa means to cover.
Hidden.
Like Prahlad says Channavatar, Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. So Channa is to cover. Now let's see what she's saying. Why people are not able to see Krishna, though he's present inside and outside of everything. But before that I have one question to all of you. How does Kunti know that the Lord is present inside and outside of everything? Did she witness something just before this?
Yes, she saw Krishna on the chariot ready to depart, and at the same time he entered Uttara's womb to protect her. So he was inside and outside.
Outside, yes.
So she actually witnessed it.
She just witnessed it and she's telling the same thing from her mouth. Yes, she just saw what happened and she's telling actually you're present inside and outside of everything. But then this question is not answered. How is he Alakshyam Sarva Bhutana? How is he not seeing Alakshams? Not seeing the sight of a person, yes, eyes. So, how is he Alakshya? For that, she says, Maya Javanika Channa. So, we'll repeat this verse, okay? Maya Javanika Channam.
Maya Javanika Channam.
Ajna Dhokshajamavyayam.
Ajnadhokshajavavyayam.
Na Lakshyase Mudadrisha.
Na Lakshyase Mudhadrisha.
Nato Natyadharo Yata.
Nato Natyadharo Yatha.
She says, Maya Javanika Channam. There is something called as Maya. Maya is the deluding energy. Now, when we say Maya, actually it is our vision that is covered. Okay? Our vision is covered. Just like you have the sun behind the cloud. Now, is the sun missing? Is the sun gone? No, the sun is there. But what is being covered? Our vision. Because of the cloud, we are not able to see the sun. So, it is only the illusion is in the vision. Okay? So, she says, Maya Javanika Channam. You are covered with the curtain of Maya. That means the Lord himself is not covered in one sense. Our vision of the Lord is getting covered. Okay? Maya Javanika Channam. Ajna Dhokshajam Avyayam. So ignorant people are not able to see you. Why are ignorant people being covered by the curtain of Maya and not able to see the Lord? Because he is beyond the range of sense perception, Adhokshaja. Adhokshaja means one who is beyond the range of senses. Okay, Krishna cannot be seen. You can't see God with your material eyes. You need divine eyes. Premanjana churi bhakti vilochanena. You have to apply the salve or the ointment of love and devotion to see the Lord. So with gross senses, it is very difficult to see the Lord. He is beyond sense perception, which is adhokshaja. So he is beyond this. So the ignorant people who are covered with this curtain of Maya are not able to understand this transcendental Lord who is beyond this world. And what do they think about the Lord? Nato natya daruyata. They are thinking na lakshasi mudadrisha nato natya daruyata. They are unable to understand you. They consider you to be like an actor on the stage. So there are many foolish people. Okay, at the time of Krishna also, when Krishna was present in this universe, there were many demoniac people who did not understand the position of Krishna. For example, Duryodhana. In Dwapar Yuga, there were many people who had different mystic powers. Okay? So Duryodhana was under the impression Krishna is also one other person who has some extra mystic powers. That's all. He didn't consider Krishna to be the supreme Lord. He just thought he's a magician. He is a magician with some extra powers. That's all. So there are many fools who do not understand Krishna. Bhagavad Gita also Krishna says that, right? What does he say?
Fools deride me when I descend.
Fools deride me when I descend.
In my original form.
Yes, when I descend in my original form. So similarly, many people, they think that he is just an actor on the stage. Like for example, if there is a child who's playing the role of Kamsa, the audience, if he's a very good actor, the audience will think this is Kamsa. They won't think this is a child who's playing the role of Kamsa. Right? So they start believing this is Kamsa. Similarly, foolish people, they start believing this is an ordinary person. He has just come here. Right? So these foolish persons who are covered by the curtain of Maya, who are ajnana, who do not have proper jnana, who are ignorant, they do not understand the Lord, who is seen only with devotion, who is adhokshaja, because they are foolish, they consider the Lord to be an ordinary person dressed like a player. Translation.
Being beyond the range of limited sense perception, you are the eternally irreproachable factor covered by the curtain of deluding energy. You are invisible to the foolish observer, exactly as an actor dressed as a player is not recognized.
So Prabhupada in the purport, he says, Krishna displayed many superhuman activities. Anything comes to your mind?
Lifting of Govardhan.
Lifting of Govardhan. Anything else?
Killing all the demons.
Actually, Krishna is celebrated as Adhokshaja because he killed Putra. That is one of the commentaries of an Acharya. He says, especially because he killed Putra, he is celebrated as Adhokshaja. It is impossible to even imagine that a little baby who's just born, few days old, can kill a demon like that. So, yeah, he killed Putana, Govardhan, who can lift Govardhan in a little finger. Prabhupada calls out the challenge that if you're going to claim that you're God, you lift Govardhan and show me. Right? That is superhuman. So, Prabhupada says in the purport, Krishna performed many superhuman activities. But what did people think? They just thought, okay, he's just an ordinary person like any other yogi. But these superhuman activities can be performed only by the Lord. There are certain things that only the Lord can perform. Even a mystic yogi having all perfections cannot perform these great activities. Like Shaubari. There is the story of Shaubari. He was a great mystic yogi.
Underwater.
He could expand himself into different forms. But Krishna, on the other hand, he took 16,108 forms to be with each of the queens and dance with all the gopis in the Rasamandal. Right? That is the glory of the Supreme Lord. And then, of course, Prabhupada talks about Archavigraha worship. So the Lord is not perceivable by our senses. So we should not be discouraged. Okay, the Supreme Lord is there, but we can't see Him. He's so compassionate that He's present in the Archavigraha for our vision. And when the Lord is present in the Archa Vigraha for our vision, He is non-different from that Supreme Lord. It is the same Lord. He is so merciful that transcendental, we say transcendental means beyond the material elements. He, by His own will, for the sake of the devotee, He appears in material elements. Antar Bahir Avasthitam, He comes within the material elements, though He is Adhokshaja. That is the mercy of the Lord, so that we can perceive Him through our limited senses. Okay? So now, what happened in the first verse? Kunti said, you are within and without everything, but foolish people are not able to see you. Now, Kunti already understood that this is the Lord, right? She is not mudha, she is not ajna, one who doesn't know anything. She is quite intelligent. She already claimed her intelligence in the very first verse. So now Krishna is asking her, so are you calling yourself a fool that you are not able to see me? Do you think you are a fool, you are not able to see me? For that Kunti, she responds that maybe I am not a fool, but then I have certain limitations. Okay, what is the limitation that Kunti is talking about? This is something we all can relate. She is calling herself an ordinary, simple woman. Okay, we'll churn out this verse very nicely and we'll understand why she says that. Okay, and we'll understand the position of women as well. So repeat. Tata paramahamsanam munina mamalatmanam bhakti yoga vidhanartam katam pashyemahi striya. Stri means woman. How can I see you? She is asking. She said, foolish persons are not able to see you because they are covered with Maya. Maya Jagani Kachana. But Krishna is saying, you don't seem to be foolish. You already know that I am the Supreme Lord and you are offering such eloquent prayers. But now she clarifies, maybe I am not foolish, but I am a simple woman. How can I see you? Then who can see Krishna? According to Kunti, she is telling, Tata Paramahamsana. Paramahamsas are transcendentalists. Okay, just like a swan, Prabhupada says. A swan can separate milk and water. Like that, these Paramahamsas, they are very knowledgeable. They understand the Supreme Lord and they are beyond, the mundane, the afflictions. They don't have these mundane afflictions. They are Paramahamsas, they've transcended. In fact, in one of the purports, he also says that it is one of the so when you talk about the renounced order of life, there are 4 levels of renounced order of life. A Paramahamsa is the topmost renounced order of life. He has realized the absolute truth. So she's telling Tata, Paramahamsa, they know you. Who else know you? Munina, great philosophers and thinkers. A great thinker is a Muni. Generally we say Rishi, Muni, we use so many different words, but each of these words have specific meanings. Muni means one who is a great philosopher and a thinker who can come up with a system of philosophy and like this Vishishta Advaita, like that, who is a great thinker is a Muni. So these Munis, they have studied scriptures so beautifully, they can analyze things and they know you. Amala Atmana, pure-hearted people. Pure-hearted people will know the Supreme Lord. How do they all know the Supreme Lord? How do these Paramahamsas, Munis and Amalatmanas know the Supreme Lord? Through Bhakti Yoga. Why do you think Bhakti Yoga is emphasized here?
With love.
We should have love. Otherwise, how will we know Krishna? Philosophical speculation, all that is okay. But how can you know Krishna? Only through love. So she says, these great Paramahamsas, Munis, Amalatmanas, all of them, they are understanding you by Bhakti Yoga. How can I know you being a woman? Now this sounds contradictory to me because women can take up Bhakti very easily. So why is she saying that?
And also women is more emotional and loving also.
Also, women are considered unintelligent per Shastras.
For Shastras, correct. Women are sort of unintelligent, but they are also loving. Any other reason why? Yes, actually both the reasons are correct. Now, Kunti, she's telling they are able to execute all these different things. They are able to execute bhakti in a rigorous way, and they are Paramahamsas, they are Munis, and they are doing all this. But I am a simple woman. So, what do you think could have been the issue, like what she felt? She was not capable, or?
The love is being spread out, like you have to take care of your children, your family, and so many things. But whereas the Muni or whoever it is, they have soul only for Krishna, their love is focused. That's what
the time and circumstance of that age also matters. So Kunti didn't have enough opportunities. Of course, she had devotion in the heart, but she could not perform devotion like Mataji was saying, unintelligent. Prabhupada writes that in the purport. So it is very difficult for a woman to execute certain things in a particular fashion rigorously. So a woman has so many responsibilities. Did she have the exposure? Could she just go to the Himalayas and take association of yogis? She had household chores, she had to run a family, she had children, she was in the forest. Yes, she didn't have her husband. Think about it. So she didn't have any support. That we'll see later. Prabhupada writes that later in the book. Why she was favored. We'll see that later. It was very difficult for her. She had to take care of so many things. Focused, one-pointed, complete, living in a brahmachari ashram or a sannyas ashram. Is it possible for a woman? It's not possible. So, katham pashyamati striya. I'm an ordinary woman. But Prabhupada, he says something very interestingly. He says, have you seen gatherings in a religious function? Whose attendance is more, men or women?
Women.
Why do you think they are more?
Because they're simple-hearted. And they take to bhakti very easily.
Yes, soft-hearted, simple-hearted. They take to bhakti very easily, very, very easily. Sincerity and simplicity. These are very important to take up to devotional service. So women naturally have it, Prabhupada says. They all naturally have it. Yes, maybe they are not very intelligent, but it doesn't matter. They naturally have sincerity and simplicity. So this is the foundation. That is where a humble heart can be fostered. And without humility, there is the question of being a devotee and offering prayers. Right? So these two qualities. Anyone wants to read this paragraph?
The Lord is so kind that He does not show special favor only to one who is a great philosopher. He knows the sincerity of purpose. For this reason only, women generally assemble in great number in any sort of religious function. In every country and in every sect of religion, it appears that the women are more interested than the men. This simplicity of acceptance of the Lord's than the men. This simplicity of acceptance of the Lord's authority is more effective than showy, insincere religious fervor.
Showy, insincere religious fervor. He compares this with. A woman naturally is dependent. It is a natural quality of a woman. And it is very nice that when a woman hears about Krishna, she becomes fully dependent on Krishna, like Kunti. Kunti, we saw she was celebrated as Sati Pratap, right? We saw. So she's Sati, she's fully dependent on Krishna. So who else can be a better recipient of mercy than a woman, like Kunti? So we all can take inspiration from Kunti and understand that Krishna is very easily approachable, Krishna is very easily obtainable for women like us. So, she says, I am an ordinary woman. I didn't have so much exposure, I didn't have so many opportunities, I'm not very intelligent, so there are so many problems. That is what she is telling. But she realizes she has something very special. What is it? She's directly related to Krishna, right? So imagine if this child is a boy that you have seen since your childhood, you can connect with him, you know him, you've seen him enough. So that is what she says next. She calls her, but you are Krishna, you are Vasudeva, you are Devaki Nandan, you are Yashoda Nandan, you are Nanda Gopakumar, you are Govinda who's tending house. You are that person. I offer my respects to my dear nephew. Okay? So let's read. Very famous words. We often use this words while reciting prayers in Bhagavatam, following in the footsteps of Kunti, like we did today also. Krishnaya Vasudevaya,
Krishnaya Vasudevaya,
Devaki Nandanaya Cha,
Devaki Nandanaya cha,
Nanda Gopa Kumaraya,
Nanda Gopa Kumaraya,
Govindaya Namo Namaha.
Govindaya Namo Namaha.
Krishna means what?
All attractive.
All attractive. He's all attractive. He's available for everybody. He's available for Kunti also. He can attract anybody's heart. He can attract a woman's heart, a pig's heart, a cockroach's heart. He can attract everybody. Right? What to talk about the men? He can attract anyone's heart. Vasudeva. Vasudeva means? Son of Vasudeva, yes. And who is Vasudeva for Kunti?
Brother.
Brother, a brother's son, a direct nephew, so accessible for her. So her own brother's son, so she calls him Vasudeva with a lot of affection. Devaki Nandan, obviously the mother becomes very important. You call out the name of the father, you forget the mother, that never happens. So Devaki Nandan, you are the child of Devaki, the loving child of Devaki. Then Kunti thinks, oh, I'm calling out to my brother and sister-in-law. But there are more advanced devotees who played the role of parents. Who are these advanced devotees? Nanda Gopa and Yashoda. So she calls out, you are Nanda Gopa Kumar. And what did you do in Vrindavan? Simple cowherd voice. So you're called Govinda. You are tending cows. You're so sweet. You're so accessible. You're so obtainable. It is so easy to relate to you. Namo Namaha. She offers her prayers and she consoles herself. I'm a dear woman. I'm thinking I'm unfortunate, but actually I'm fortunate. Here you are, Krishna. You're so accessible. So that's the mood in which she says this. Translation.
Let me therefore offer my respectful obeisances unto the Lord, who has become the son of Vasudeva, the pleasure of Devaki, the boy of Nanda, and the other cowherd men of Vrindavan, and the enlivener of the cows and the senses.
So Krishna is the most approachable, hence he is the most merciful. Prabhupada, in the purport, he says there are so many incarnations of the Lord. Okay? There is Rama, Narsimha, Vamana, so many forms of the Lord. But who is the most approachable in all rasas? It is only Krishna. Can you think of having a conjugal relationship with Lord Ram? That is not possible. Can you think of being can you think of having Narasimha as your baby? Scary. But Krishna can be everything to everybody. Right? So he's the most complete form of Lord. Paripurna, he's Paripurna, complete in all respects. So he's the most approachable. Because he's got all these different flavors, anybody can relate to Krishna. See, even Sudevi can relate to Krishna and even the older women can relate to Krishna. Everybody. So that is the beauty of Krishna, and she calls out to Krishna saying, you are very accessible to me. And she wants to offer her respects to Krishna with a lot of love and devotion. Her heart was overpouring with emotions, so she immediately wants to offer respects. But she's the aunt. Right? How do we all offer, when we take darshan of the Lord, how do you take darshan?
First start with the lotus feet.
You start with the lotus feet and then gradually you proceed upward. Kapila, in the third canto of Bhagavatam, when he talks about meditation on the Lord, that time also he says, a yogi should begin with the lotus feet of the Lord. We don't directly go and see the lotus face of the Lord. Start with the lotus feet, gradually you go, and then finally you see the smile of the Lord, right? You see the face of the Lord. Even when we come and take darshan, initially when we were new in Krishna consciousness, the first thing we would do is we would try to go and see the face of the Lord, eye-to-eye contact, face of the Lord. But their devotees keep telling us, no, you go to the temple, take darshan of the Lord from the lotus feet, and then you go up to the face. How do you read Srimad Bhagavatam? We don't jump to the 10th canto. We start from the lotus feet, which is the very first and second canto. And once we understand who Krishna is the Tattva, once we understand that, then we can go to the 10th canto and we can read the Rasa Panchadhyaya which is the smile of the Lord. You can relish the smile of the Lord, right? That is how everybody takes darshan. But here is one lady who comes and starts with the navel of the Lord. Why is it so?
It's from there the origin of the
Origin of the universe, very nice.
And really the relationship with considering him as a child.
And yeah, she's an aunt, right? As a child, yes.
and navel is considered to be very beautiful of
Navel is beautiful,
of
yes.
the Supreme Lord.
It is the abode of the universe, you're right, Navel is very, very beautiful. And she's also the aunt. So Krishna will feel very embarrassed. Imagine if an older person comes in and starts worshipping the feet. Krishna will not do that. So to prevent the embarrassment, she begins with a navel, which is extremely beautiful. So we'll recite this verse. Namah Pankajanabhaya
Namaha Pankajanabhaya
Namah Pankajamalini
Namaha Pankajamaline
Namah Pankajanetraya
Namaha Pankajanetraya
Namaste Pankajangraye.
Namaste Pankajangraye.
So Devi, what is Nabi?
Na,
Nabha, Nabhi, Nabha.
navel,
Navel, very nice. Nama, what is Pankaja, Devi?
lotus flower,
How beautiful. Yes, it's a lotus flower. Panka means dirt. Okay, Panka is dirt. Many people who speak Hindi will know. Right? Dirt. So, Panka is dirt.
Aja.
Little bit. Thoda thoda. See, I better. Panka is dirt. That which is born in the Panka is Pankaja.
Aja.
Okay? Just dirt. So Pankaja, that which is born in dirt. Where does lotus flower grow? In muddy water. But though the lotus flower grows in muddy water, is it dirty to look at? No, it's very beautiful. So there are a few things in this universe that are considered very beautiful, and we have only so much perception. We can only compare the Lord with things of this universe because that is what we are seeing. So we choose the lotus flower. Throughout Shastras, you will find the Lord being glorified, being compared to a lotus flower all the time. Because that is the most beautiful thing we have seen on this world. Very, very beautiful lotus flower. So she starts offering her obeisances. Translation, Emma?
My respectful obeisances are unto you, O Lord, whose abdomen is marked with a depression like a lotus flower, who are always decorated with the garlands of lotus flowers, whose glance is as cool as the lotus, and whose feet are engraved with lotuses.
Beautiful. And here is our Radha Madan Mohan.
Jai.
And you take darshan of him, that's how it is. Everything is like a lotus. His feet, his navel, the garland he's wearing, his eyes, everything is like a lotus. He himself is like a huge lotus filled with lotuses. So she says, Namah Pankaja Nabhaya, the Nabi of the Lord, Nabha of the Lord. It is very, very beautiful, like she was mentioning. It is the abode of the entire universe. So you all know that from the navel of the Supreme Lord sprouted a lotus on which Brahma sat. Right? So from a lotus, another lotus came out, pretty much. That's how it is. And on that lotus, Brahma sat and he created this universe. So it is the source of the entire universe. But though it is the source of the entire universe, it is not just not a very dirty place or not a very ugly looking thing. It is extremely beautiful like a lotus. This is marked with 3 lines, depressions. 3 depressions. When you see that fold of skin, usually around the navel, it's very beautiful for the Lord. And his nabi is also very, very beautiful. It's got a nice circling thing and it looks like a lotus. So she says, Namah Pankaja Nabhaya, Namah Pankaja Maline. He wears a garland full of lotuses. Namah Pankaja Netraya. Netra is your eyes, right? Beautiful lotus-like eyes like you see in this deity. Namaste Pankajangraye. So he is Angri. Angri means feet. It's engraved with lotuses. Mataji, when she was reading, she said it is engraved with lotuses. If you see the lotus feet of Krishna, you see little lotus also being painted sometimes on the reddish lotus feet. Krishna. The reddish feet of the Lord looks like a lotus, and sometimes lotuses are also painted. It's engraved with lotuses. It's very, very beautiful. So, you see, Archavigrahas, Prabhupada says, are always decorated with beautiful lotus garlands. And when the lotus lotus eyes of the Lord, with his lotus eyes, when he casts a glance on the devotees, it is very, very cooling. So the lotus eyes, the lotus face, everything is very beautiful. And when we take darshan of the Lord, we can witness all of this that Kunti Maharani has said. And the other point is that Kunti takes darshan from the navel because she is the aunt. She didn't want to embarrass the Lord. So taking darshan of the Lord, she offers this lovely prayer to the Lord, and then let's see what she did. So what happened so far? Okay. First, this Sati Prata, she came, she offered prayer. She says, Namaste Purusham Tvadyam, understanding that he is the Supreme Lord. Antar Bahir Apastitam. You are inside and outside of everything. But she says, but still I am unable to see you. Why? Because of the curtain of Maya. So fools are unable to see you. So if Krishna asks her, are you a fool? She says, no, I may not be a fool, but I am a simple woman. Right? She says, I am a simple woman. But then she consoles herself and she says, though I am a simple woman, I am very fortunate because you are my nephew. Krishnaya Vasudevaya Devaki Nandanaya Cha. Okay? Now that she has acknowledged that he is her nephew, she wants to take his darshan. But because he is her nephew, she takes darshan from the Nandi. Okay? And then, so far she compared Krishna with being the child of Devaki, being the child of Nanda Gopa. And she says, you are only my nephew. Okay, so far she says, you are only my nephew. But because Krishna is her nephew, does it mean that Krishna is more partial towards his parents than towards Kunti? After all, it's only a relationship of aunt and nephew. Is it so close for her to feel so happy and fortunate? She says, yes. I am more favored than even Devaki Vasudeva. You know how? She says this verse. Okay? Repeat. Yata Rishikesha Kalena Devaki.
Yatha Rishikesha Khalena Devaki.
Kamsena Ruddat Tichiram Sucharpita.
Kamsena Ruddhati Chiram Sucharpita.
Vimochitaham cha sahatmaja vibho.
Vimochitaham cha sahatmaja vibho.
Tvayaiva nathena muhur vipadganat.
Tvayaiva nathena muhur vipadganat.
Yata Rishikesha Khalena Devaki. Who's a Khala?
Envious.
Villain, right? Khalnayak villain. So a villain is a Khala. And who's this Khala? This Khala was this Kamsa. What did this villain do? He tortured Devaki and Vasudeva and he killed their children. So finally Krishna came to the rescue. Finally, after all of them were killed, Krishna was growing up with Yashoda, and then finally he comes and he releases Vasudeva and Devaki. So that is the favor he did for his parents. But for Kunti, what are the favors did Krishna do?
He saved her sons again and again.
Again and again. It kept happening over and over. For Devaki Vasudeva, it was only once. Okay, just once. Krishna came, released them, finished. Own child, Krishna is. For own parents only so much. But for aunt, she's so fortunate. Again and again, every single problem, Krishna appeared and helped her. Now who's fortunate?
David.
Kunti. Even Kunti is convinced, you are not yet convinced. So she says, I am more fortunate than even Devaki and Vasudeva. And it's beautiful. He is referred here as Rishikesha. So what is Rishikesha? So again?
Rishikesha. Master of the senses.
Ah, beautiful. master of the senses. So he is the one who should give pleasure to everyone, right? One who gives pleasure to the senses. He is the master of all senses. He should take care of all the devotees. So the master of the senses, the pleasure giver, he finally came and gave some pleasure to Devaki and Vasudeva. But then how is he treating Mother Kunti? He is giving her happiness again and again and again. In every step of life she has a problem, and in every step Krishna comes and helps her. So now Kunti is telling, I'm actually more fortunate. So translation.
O Rishikesha, master of the senses and lord of lords, you have released your mother Devaki, who was long imprisoned and distressed by the envious king Kamsa, and me and my children from a series of constant dangers.
Yeah, there was a series of constant dangers. So, why does a devotee always suffer? Anybody here who's a devotee who's not gone through tribulations? I don't know. I think all devotees go through tribulations. So, is Krishna sadist? No. Then?
He's testing
Testing. Testing for what?
He wants us to remember him
at the time of distress.
Yeah. So it's an exchange of love, right? So our surrender increases during testing periods because we have nobody else. It is only Krishna that we can look up to. So he is only the master of everyone and he is only the ultimate well-wisher of everyone. So a devotee, Sati, should always take shelter of Krishna at all times. So even during pressing times and during normal times, all the times we have to take shelter only of Krishna. So when a devotee, sometimes Krishna favors a devotee by giving them problems. It is a favor bestowed by Krishna. It's not that Krishna wants you to suffer and he's laughing at you. Ha ha ha, she's suffering. No. He wants you to suffer so that you can take more shelter at his lotus feet and become closer to him. That is the idea. So Prabhupada explains this in the purport. Kunti's life was a series of disasters. And every time she took shelter of Krishna, and Krishna was there for her. So that is Krishna. He will be there with us. He will. When will he be there with us? When we consciously surrender. You will feel his presence for sure. Okay? Kunti has had this conviction and she had the experience. Many of us have had slight experience, but consciously we have to develop this conviction that Krishna will be there. Okay, then can you read the last back?
The conclusion is that Krishna endows more favor to a devotee who is in greater dangers. Sometimes he puts his pure devotees in such dangers because in that condition of helplessness, the devotee becomes more attached to the Lord. The more the attachment is there for the Lord, the more success is there for the devotee.
What is the secret of success? More attachment. To develop more attachment, more surrender. More surrender means more suffering. Be ready for suffering. Okay? So we are all strong women, we get ready for more suffering. And what are the distresses that she is talking about? That is the last verse for today. We'll stop in 10 minutes. Okay? We have time to play 15. So, what are the series of distresses? She said, you are there for a devotee who is undergoing distress. I am more fortunate than Devaki. I got you all the time. So, what are the distresses? She lists it out. Vishan Mahagne Purushada Darshanad.
Vishan Mahagne Purushada Darshanad.
Asat Sabhaya Vanavasa Krichrata.
Asat Sabhaya Vanavasa Krichrataha.
Mridhe Mridhe Aneka Maharatastra Astrato.
Mride Mride Nega Maharathastrito.
Drauni Astratascha Hare Virakshita.
Draunya Shashatas Chashma Hare Virakshitaha.
Vishad. Vishad. What's Vishad?
Poison.
Poison. What was the pastime when Krishna saved them from poison? Bhima. Very nice. So there was a time when the second son of Kunti, Bhima, was given, he was fond of eating like us. So anything you give, I'm ready to eat. So he was presented with nice food stuff. was mixed with poison, he ate it. But what happened on the contrary, he drowned in the Ganges and he was bit by the Nagas. The poison of a snake can be an antidote for a poison.
Yes.
Okay? So that way he came out to become more stronger, but it was all executed under the expert supervision of the Lord. So she says the protection given at that time to Bhima was by your mercy. Vishnu. Mahagne, Agni means what?
Fire.
Fire.
Lakshandra, yeah, fire, Lakshandra pastime. So what happened, Lakshandra?
Their palace was burned.
Yeah. So this Duryodhan, he sent the Pandavas along with Mother Kunti for a trip, okay, where he built a wax palace and he decided to burn them down. So this was his plan. And at that time, Vidura had already given a message in a Mlecha Bhasha, which means maybe English.
English.
He gave a message telling them like how rats dig tunnels, like little holes in the floor. Similarly, you guys dig a tunnel and you escape. So even that plan was orchestrated by the Lord ultimately. So that was the Mahavni. Visham, Mahavni, Purusha. Purusha means person, or any gender when say Purusha in a local term, it means a person. Ada means to eat, Purusha. So who eats people? Like cannibals? Rakshasas. Rakshasas are cannibals. If you read the Ramayana, in Ravana's kingdom, he was cooking all sorts of nasty animals and birds and people and everything. Rakshasas, they eat everything. So, do you remember any cases where Rakshasas were trying to trouble the Pandavas?
There was a past time when we were there in the forest, and each family used to send one person for the Rakshasa.
Bakasura.
Bakasura. One more. Very nice. Bakasura is correct. One more. The second son married the sister.
Hidimba.
Hidimba. So two cases. Both times under Krishna's supervision, everything was resolved. Okay. Asat Sabha. So sad. Asat Sabha.
Draupadi. Vastra.
Sat means truth or good. A Sabha means a gathering or an arena, whatever you call it. It was Asat, it was not correct what happened. She was distraught. At that time, Krishna personally appeared as the unending sari, continuous sari, and he protected Draupadi. That time also, look at all these ladies, be it Uttara or be it Kunti or be it Draupadi. They know whom to take shelter of. They surrender only to Krishna. They don't go surrendering to everybody. They're very clear. Women are generally very intelligent in one sense. Because they know whom to surrender to. Like you will see this consistency in the Bhagavatam. When you read the prayers of the Kalyapattis, when you see the mood of the Dvijapattis, who are the Dvijapattis? The Brahmanapattis in 10th canto. And then even
Devahuti, Mother Devahuti.
Mother Devahuti, what a brilliant woman, right? Mother Devahuti. And even very unique this is, Bali Maharaja's wife. She chastises Bali. She tells Bali, oh, you think you're giving your kingdom, you're surrendering your stuff to the Supreme Lord? Aren't you a big fool? What is there that belongs to you? She asks her husband. So like that, you'll see almost every character. Exactly, Suniti.
The gopis of renown.
Gopis, the best and the topmost.
Best and the topmost.
Yes. So this is the glory of Bhagavatam itself. Bhagavatam chooses to glorify women more than men in Bhagavatam. And Bhagavatam chooses to glorify devotees more than the Supreme Lord. That is another beauty of Bhagavatam. And Bhagavatam glorifies so-called demons more than the actual demigods who are considered heroes. Like Vitrasur. Right? So it's beautiful.
Yeah.
Full of beauty. Okay. Let's continue this. Vanavasa Krishna.
Exile.
Vanavas. What happened in Vanavas? Any story where Krishna came and helped? Durvasa. Beautiful. I was looking for that. Yeah. Durvasa. So there was a time when, you all know it, when they were in the forest, they had what's called as Akshaya Patra that would provide unlimited quantities of food. But it so happened that Duryodhan, he told Durvasa, who was an expert curser, I mean, he was a great sage, but he would curse very easily. So he sends Durvas telling that you go to the Pandavas after they have finished eating. So once Draupadi finishes eating of the Akshaya Patra and she washes it and she puts it down, it will stop providing food. So Durvas Muni along with all his followers, they went exactly after this was over, after she finished eating and she cleaned the pot. Now they didn't have a morsel of food when all these 60,000 followers, something like that. Yeah, Durvasa and all these different sages came, there was no food. So what would Draupadi and the Pandavas do? At that time Draupadi prays to Krishna, she calls out to Krishna. And Krishna appears there the next second. And he asks Draupadi, where's the pot? No, he comes and asks Draupadi, I'm very hungry, give me food. And she's like, you don't tease me like this, as it is I'm in distress. And I've called you because I'm in distress, I'm not able to provide food. You're coming and asking me to give food. So Krishna says, it's okay, don't worry, get me the pot. I'll eat something. She says, no, I just washed it. He says, it's okay, I know how nicely you do chores. You don't wash it. I know that. And he picks up a small piece of grain. Mahabharata says shakanam, which is
green
leafy vegetable rice, okay? Masala rice. So he picks that up and he eats it, and all the sages are, their hunger is satisfied. So under great distress, again Draupadi called out. Not only she called out to Krishna during the Asat Sabha, she also calls out to him in the forest. Okay, Mridhe, again and again, Aneka Maharatha. There were so many Maharathis who were fighting with weapons, Astra. So Bhishma, Drona, they were like, Prabhupada says they were like huge sharks and whales in the presence of these little Pandavas. They were so big. But even at that time, Krishna as the charioteer, without lifting a single weapon, he was able to protect the Pandavas by his wisdom. So Krishna was protecting them when all these Maharathis were there, and finally she says, what is that? Drauni Astra, Chasme Haribi Rakshata. What is Drauni? Who's Drauni? Ashwatthama. Drona's son is Drauni. And that is Ashwatthama, that case we just saw. So it's fresh in her memory. She's very fresh in her memory, and she says, you protected us from Drona's Astra. Translation? Amen.
My dear Lord Krishna, your Lordship has protected us from a poisoned cake, from a great fire, from cannibals, from the vicious assembly, from sufferings during our exile, in the forest and from the battle, where great generals fought. And now you have saved us from the weapon of Ashwatthama.
So the last surviving child, Parikshit Maharaj, was also saved by the mercy of Krishna. So Krishna has been taking care of them from a very, very long time, and he continued to take good care of them. Now, she has listed all her sufferings, right? You think she wants her sufferings to end? Answer is no. That is what we are going to see in our next session, because it's time now. We'll stop here. In our next session, we'll see the crux, the essence of all the prayers in the Bhagavatam is encapsulated in that one verse. Next week, next time whenever we are meeting, we'll see what Kunti prays for. We can't pray like Kunti, but at least we can take some inspiration from God. Okay? Thank you all so much.
Please.
Patitanam pavanebhyo Vaishnavebhyo namo namah.
I have two questions.
Yeah, I'll try.
So the first question is that we can see in the case of Uttara how she surrendered to Krishna at a very, very initial moment. And we can see the example of Draupadi. She has taken shelter from, she was asking for her husbands, then Bhima, then Dronacharya, and everyone she was, and at the very end of that she took shelter of Krishna. So can you give some reflection why the Uttara is like, we consider that is more elevated than the Draupadi or...
Experience speaks. She has seen already who is the real protector, right? We learn from our elder, we've seen what's happening around us and we learn. And that's what we are expected to do too. We are expected to learn seeing all this. Why are we reading these stories of all these devotees who went through problems? You see any devotee in Bhagavatam, there's not a single devotee who has not gone through a problem. Some problem or the other. Every devotee's life is problem. all the people in Bhagavatam. But from each one of these we are supposed to learn. So I am telling this, not that it's written somewhere, it's just my reflection that she has learned. Experience, right? It should speak. Yeah.
Thank you, Vaishnavi. And the second question is that you have that is mentioned in that the more surrendered you are, the more suffering you are getting. And though there is a favor of Krishna, so if somebody is not getting suffering, that means is not favored by Krishna.
No, don't think you will not get it. The nature of the material world is duality. Suffering is bound to happen. Maybe in this phase I am not getting that, so suffering will keep coming. That's the nature of this world. Dukkhalayam ashashvatam. It will come. That is the guarantee of this world. Yeah, but a devotee, to answer your question better, but a devotee having taken shelter of Krishna, the focus is different. So even if there is a suffering, so-called suffering, there is a barrier around that devotee. The consciousness is fine-tuned, right, for a devotee. The devotee's focus will not be on the problem. The devotee's focus will be on the lotus feet of Krishna. So it appears that the devotee is not suffering, though the devotee is undergoing tribulation. Think of any devotee. Sufferings will come. That is the nature of this world. All the problems will come. But a devotee's response will be very different. Because the devotee's focus is elsewhere. So Guru Maharaj says that you cannot change the situations in life, but you can choose how to respond to these situations in life. How does a devotee choose to respond? By shifting focus towards Krishna. Krishna will put that barrier and take care of the devotee. Ramchandra says, Sakradeva Prapannaya Tamasmiti Achate Abhyam Sarvada Tasmai Dadavani Etat Prata Mama. He will take care. He will give that abhayam.
Thank you so much. You can announce. Her Grace Preethi Vilasini ki Jai. So you can announce our next section, November 19th.
November 19th, Sunday, same time. Shweta Prabhu was suggesting we can even have it in the Self-Discovery Center if needed. He suggested we'll work that out later.
Yeah, he had suggested, but there are issues with all the...
Yeah, then
so we'll just have it.
We'll have it at the same time. Please come and we will discuss Kunti's prayers and it will be very nice. Yeah? And we are starting with a very interesting verse.
Yeah.
Thank you all for your
Hare Krishna.
Hare
Har Grace Preethi Vilasini Mata Ji ki Jai.
All glories to all of you.
Srila Prabhupada ki Jai. Radha Madan Mohan ki Jai. Hare Krishna. कृपा सिंधुभ्य एव च पतितानां पावनेभ्यो वैष्णवेभ्यो नमो नमः.